to our March 3rd planning board meeting. It is a little after 6. I apologize for starting a little late, but we're here. I see Bartlett's here. I see Anna's here. Elise is here. And Jeff. These people, all of us. Hey, so let me pull up Maureen's agenda. Where did I put it? It should be in the old tabs. Oh, you're not there. Anyway, so we have 6 o'clock. We have, give me 1 second to find the agenda. I was on it to get our link. This high tech, this is probably our last meeting with Zoom, right, Maureen? I think we're gonna have to go to live after this.
That's up to you guys. The deadline for having remote meetings has been extended, but it's up to the board.
I thought it was, thought we had to do it. We don't have to do it?
No.
Oh, what's the board's thoughts on it? Well, I pull up my agenda. I don't know why I didn't have it. Okay. Okay. What's the board? So do we want to continue unless we have something pressing that we should probably meet live? Anyway. Okay, so let's start with how about the minutes of the meetings? Everybody good with the January 20th and February 3rd meetings? Any issues with those?
None.
Nope.
Doesn't look like it. Everybody's good. Anna, you're good?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the January 20th and February 3rd minutes of our meetings.
I so move.
So, second. All those in favor? Anna?
Yes.
Elisa?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Good, we got that one on. Fiscal 2023 budget process, what's next?
So the select board and the finance committee is meeting next Tuesday evening. And at that meeting, they'll be making some decisions about which requests to fund and which requests don't fit in the budget this year.
Okay. Board have any other input into that? Or are we good just waiting to see what they're gonna, do we need to do a car wash again, Myron, or maybe a bake sale, or are we good? We'll know in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so the next one is, and I left it for last, so we can use that the time that we need, is planning board for King Street, Littleton Common, permitting 550 TDR and the train station. I'll start with the train station. I've spoken with the Longs about getting us an updated plan about what their intentions are, maybe a downsized project with maybe a little mixed use up there. So they're working on that. I did tell them, Maureen and I met with Nate Long and the attorney about getting back on the schedule towards spring. No, they know full well that we're not going to have anything for Springtown meeting, but depending on what's going on with the state about trying to have an understanding by fall town meeting about where we're at with that. So brought them into that. They have no problem coming in later on this spring to start talking about what their wants and needs are and to keep the ball rolling for the train station area. We haven't really started back up with we're getting the band back together, Delisa, so maybe we'll just handle it as a planning board issue, but they definitely want to engage us and work with us, especially given what's going on with the state. So that's about all I can tell you about the train station. Bartlett, where are we at with TDR? Have you guys still kicking that around, still trying to?
Yep, we're still kicking it around. We're still working on it. I've got a bunch of stuff that I have to read. I have to do a book report for the group.
Okay. I
So
wish
we're still figuring out. We're looking at other towns in Massachusetts that have TDR laws. We're trying to, sort of compile things that we think would be useful to have in such a law. So we're still working.
Okay, Anna, go ahead.
So, I just wanted to ask Bartlett, is there anything that the planning board can do to support the work that the working group is doing?
Well, yeah, I think it would be, well, I mean, I can't think of anything directly because we're all just sort of figuring out what kind of bylaws we need, what we should be looking for, what in terms of defining receiving areas and sending areas. I think the planning board would be very helpful to talk about receiving areas, because I don't think the TDR people want to go off on a limb and sort of define things that don't make sense for the town. But at this point, we're still pretty abstract.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, for sure. If we need to get that topic on the agenda, I'm sure having that conversation with Mark and Maren would be helpful.
Yeah, I think absolutely. We're busy, but we're not that busy that we can't definitely find space. So whenever you feel comfortable, Bartlett, we'll put you on the agenda and start trying to help you as best we can. We didn't get, well, like we got pretty much into it with transferring to receiving areas and stuff with Mark Rancicotte, so we could probably pick up where we left off there. Sure. When you guys think you're ready, we'd be happy to have you come forward.
We did have a Zoom with Mark Rancicotte, and we're going to have another one in either the next meeting or the meeting after that.
Okay. Just good point, Anna. Just let us know, and we'll all get together with it.
Great. Thank you.
Any other issues on that one? Well, Elisa, you're good. Jeff, you're good. 550 King Street. As I think you're probably aware, I think Mr. Lapoli met with the select board to speak about 550 King Street. And I want to keep the project moving forward. I thought it would be nice if we could invite Mr. Lapoli to come to our meeting and discuss plans. I reached out to them. They do have plans. They would like to come before us. I just want to talk to the board, see if they want to do a joint meeting with the select board, do it in front of us, or I'm open either way. I'd like to see maybe within a couple of weeks, maybe by the end of March, get him to come before us and give us an overview of what his plans are so far and what his thoughts are on the project in affordable housing. Do you guys want to do it with the select board? Do you want to do it in front of our board? Do you want to do a joint? I'm looking for input. So what's everybody's thoughts? I'll start with Anna.
My input is that I would always prefer to do a meeting jointly, simply because I think it helps to get everyone on the same page. And so I would actually wonder, since we have not had an opportunity to meet with the select board on this at all, our last attempt was on January 20th, and we haven't had an opportunity to do that. Should we meet with the select board first to sort of assess our own town wants and needs before meeting with Mr. Lapoli?
Why wouldn't we just have him come and talk about it in front of both boards?
Okay,
Why,
that'll work too.
Yeah, I would prefer that he just, I agree with Anna that if we meet with select board, but I want to have Mr. Lapori there.
Okay, Jeff?
I think ultimately the disposition of this project is before our board. I think the way it works into housing goals intersects with the select board. So I'm not as intent as everyone else on having a joint meeting, but if so, that's fine.
Okay. Bartlett?
My preference would be for us to meet with Lupoli before we go in front of the select board. I think eventually we'll have to have a joint meeting with them, but I would like to get his take on it, on what he wants to do, and without the select board interfering or being a drag on the proceedings.
Now you put me in a really dicey position, Barbara.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I have to make the decision.
I mean, look, I can go either way. I mean, I get what Bartlett's saying, and there's something to be said about that. So I'm open to just meeting alone or with the select board.
Okay. All right.
On the other hand, I'm sorry, now I'm going back and forth. On the other hand, the select board did meet in executive session where we were not given the opportunity to even hear what was said.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm changing my mind. I think I would rather meet on our own with Mr.
Okay.
Lepore.
All right. So I have you, Bartlett, Jeff. Kind of, you would be okay with that? Anna is.
I don't want to be strong one way or the other, but
Okay.
I see no problem with going forward with Mr. Lepore. We don't even know how far the plans are.
Mhm.
Right.
So anyway.
Okay, Anna.
Oh.
Convince me.
The one thing that I was going to add to this conversation is that ultimately what matters the most is that we use our time, the town's time, everyone's time as expeditiously as possible. And that was why we so that we don't tell anything, because this group is meeting with him separately, then this group is meeting with him separately. And from the outside looking in, people might say, well, why don't you guys both meet with him? So that was why I was raising it. And so, Mr. Chair, it's obviously your decision, but I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. So full disclosure, I had spoken with Anthony about having a joint meeting on the 30th, somewhere around the 31st, somewhere. And then having a public meeting with us our first week of April with Mr. Lepore. So if you guys really want to do it just amongst ourselves to kind of hear where he's coming from, we could do that, and then post a joint meeting for our planning board meeting for the first week of April. So part of me wants to just have him come in and talk to us, okay? Just so they can be frank and honest, because our questions are probably going to be different from than we're going to be talking about density and about what he's proposing out there. The understanding is that he has some charrettes done of the different areas that he's looking at and how we want, the residential, the form-based coating in the front, the commercial in the back. And I think that would be important to us to have a chance to take a look at seeing that for the first time. I get that. Maybe a little selfishness. It's us talking to him. We don't have the select board, which might have other agendas. I could see that. I could see the merits for doing that. I also want to make sure that this project is run through the select board. I want us to be running everything jointly with Anthony and the select board, so that this is too important a project not to have everybody involved and engaged in. And that's why I kind of wanted to do it jointly on the end of the month. But if the board feels strongly enough that we have our own questions and want to do it, I would respect that and say, let's just have Mr. Lepore come in at well, what's everybody available? Is everyone available the last Thursday of March? Is anyone going to be away?
Not to my knowledge.
Jeff, are you around?
I'm around.
Anna?
I'm here.
Okay. Well, why don't we just ask Mr. Lepore to come in and talk to us informally about the site, his intentions. Maybe we can get the whatever he spoke with to the select board. He can tell us about it. How about if we leave it like that? And if the select board wants to do it as a joint meeting, then we'll acquiesce to them. But I will send it back to Anthony tomorrow and see how the select board feels about it. But otherwise, we'll do it on our own. How's that?
I think that's fine. And as always, any member of the select board can
Oh, yeah,
attend
Yeah.
the meeting.
they
So
can sit in,
Right.
absolutely.
they can raise their hand and they can,
So we'll do it that way. If there's strong opposition and they want to be there, we'll absolutely we'll do it as a joint. But if they would allow us the opportunity to hear Mr. Lapoli privately like they did, or not privately, publicly, like they did that, I think that would be great. So why don't we leave it like that? Did I totally muddle
Good.
that up?
No, that's
That's
fine with
good.
me.
Okay. Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So Myron, tomorrow, can you reach out to Anthony and tell him that we're going to have, when do we want to have it? It's, so if we're looking at March, we're looking at Thursday, the 31st. Can we do that?
would that be our April meeting?
No, that would be our March. We haven't scheduled, we have an April meeting for the 7th, right, Myron? Yeah.
So
this
could
would
we
be our,
do it at this, I mean, what is the business on the 7th? Can we do it on the 7th?
I thought we would try to get him in. I would try to get him in tonight. But
Okay.
it didn't quite work out that way. I wanted him to speak informally to us, and I thought it would be best if I talked to the whole board to see what their thoughts were before I went ahead and invited him. So
Okay.
he'd like to come in at the end of March because I think he wants to be on the agenda for April. So have we seen anything from Amar yet? Any Nothing?
No application materials or sketch plans yet.
well, is the 31st a problem, Jeff? Or you?
No, I just, you
Okay.
know, and I don't, it's just 2, weeks back to back, but I think it makes sense. This is a big thing that, it should maybe have its own.
Okay, so do we want to do it live? I believe. I think having everybody come in, we'll do it in 103 on the 31st. You want to do 6:30? Is that good? You want to? What's good for
Whatever.
everybody? 6:30.
I prefer 6, but that's just
All right.
me.
Anna, are you okay with 6?
Either time is fine.
Jeff Bartlett, are you okay?
I can make it work.
Okay, and I know Jeff's going to be late anyway, so we'll just say 6.
Hey.
You're one
I was
to
early
talk
today.
Yeah. Actually, you beat me, Jeff. So I have to give you that. All right, we'll do 6 o'clock on Thursday the 31st, and I'll have Myron reach out to Anthony, see if they want to do it as a joint. If not, we'll invite Mr. Lapoli in on our own for 6 o'clock. Okay. Anything else? Are we good? Great. Having heard nothing, let's move on to our 6:15 bond request for Cooper Farms.
Okay, just a moment. Where did she go?
Is Jennifer? Yeah, Jennifer Platt.
Sure. Yeah, just a minute. Bring Jennifer in. There we
Okay.
go.
In process.
Thank you.
Jennifer, are you there?
I am here. I can see you. I don't know if you can see me. I don't know if I can get my video. It's not allowing me to make that work, but so you get this lovely shot of me when I was actually on the MBTA going.
She was promoted to a panelist that did not take Marn, so she should appear shortly.
So where his
Here we go.
closet have been. Now it's
Very
working.
much.
Yeah.
Now it's working, and it's lovely to see you all this evening.
Yeah, and this was
Um,
the same. But we're gonna
just-
change this.
I'm Jennifer Platt at Anderson Krieger. I'm here on behalf of M&M Realty Trust. And this is a, hopefully should be a straightforward one. When the developers initially built out Cooper Farm development, the planning board required a bond in the amount of It was 460,000 to make sure that all of the infrastructure was complete. Back in 2020, when the project was substantially complete, you voted to reduce that to 40,000. Fall of 2020, the town accepted the roads, the public streets in the development. So those have been accepted. Those are now town roads, and we have just the remaining 40,000 bond that we would request that the board would release at this point.
Okay, how does the board feel about this? I'll start with Anna. Anna, do you have any questions or concerns?
So I guess, given how long it's been that this particular property has been in play, the question that I have is the Dean Lane portion of it. Is it actually the loop around the senior development, or what specifically is there around Dean Lane that's in question here?
So there's nothing in question with Dean Lane. Dean Lane is actually a private way. It's required to be, and that's part of the condominium association. And that's not a public street that's been accepted by the town. But the main roads going through the single family home portion of the development, those have all been accepted by the town and are now public streets.
Okay.
Well,
So just that little loop in the back is part of the condominium and controlled by them.
all right, and let me jump in real quick then, and I'll let you finish. When we bonded it, I believe we also bonded Dean Lane. And Jennifer, maybe you don't know this, but we've gotten letters from the residents of Dean Lane about concerns and questions about the drainage at Dean Lane and a few other issues. So I think that's why Anna brought the question up. And like I said, we're not really talking about the subdivision part. We're talking, I think, more about Dean Lane. The residents are very concerned about. Basically, there's a big, huge puddle in there. The drainage doesn't seem to be working on the road, and there's a couple other issues. So I think that's what we're talking about. It's on our website if you want to look at the pictures that the residents sent in the letter. It's all there. I don't want to ambush you. I don't know if you knew about that or not.
I hadn't heard about that, and my understanding from prior discussions and even the emails back and forth with the town was that this was just for the public streets.
Yeah.
And since those have been accepted 2 years ago, it had really been, from my perspective, it was more of an oversight that we hadn't come back in front of you to request that this be released at the same time that the roads had been accepted.
Okay. All right, so I'll let Anna go, but that's kind of the background of what we're talking about right now. The residents of Dean Lane are not fully satisfied with what's going on out there. Anna about the condominium association, I don't think that's even been set up yet, but I'll let Anna go with what she was talking about. I just wanted to give you the context for that.
No, I appreciate that, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I would say the condominium association has been it is set up. It's been running. And we're at the point where there's just one more unit that needs to be built and sold. And the expectation is that will happen this spring when the ground is, buildable again. And once that last unit has been constructed, then the association is going to be turned over to the residents. So I know some of them are eager to take over and some of them aren't, but that's sort of the life cycle of the condominium.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted, Anna. Go ahead, keep going.
No, that's okay. I think that part of where the misunderstanding came into play is the fact that we do have this new information that Mark alluded to, and the fact that 3 of the streets in the development have been accepted. So just so that I'm clear, is Dean Lane always going to remain a private way?
Yes, and that's a function of the zoning bylaws. That is part of that condominium. That has to remain a private way. It can't be accepted by the town.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or concerns about this?
There's comments on the background about Amy Green. Significant problems with the function of stormwater basins and erosion and email threads, etc. Is that regarding Dean Lane or the streets? that have already been accepted?
There's some confusion on my part. It's deals, Basin 3 and Basin 4. One of them is related to the subdivision. One of them is related to Dean Lane. It's not clear to me which is which. I don't recall, but there's some problem with the function of at least one of those.
So it's not simply a matter of Dean Lane, because it's an interesting question, you know, what our responsibility is toward a private road, but, you know, I think we should do what we can to make sure that it's built and functions and, you know, the residents get what they need.
Well,
Even though it is a private road, it has to be built to subdivision standard.
Okay.
And we need to get green out there to make sure the drainage is proper and everything else like that. So even though it's going to be private, when it was designed and built, the bonding so that they could do it that's why the bond was in place, so they could get their lot releases and their building permits. So it is still, as far as I'm concerned, unless the council can correct me, I still think it's part of the whole subdivision. And even though the road is going to stay private, it's still part of the whole subdivision. But
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, in looking at those pictures, I mean, there's a lot of erosion, and I'm also concerned about a lot of that runoff getting into the wetlands. Isn't that the whole point of stormwater management? And it's obviously not working if it's getting into the wetlands. Or did I misunderstand what I was reading and seeing?
okay, and Bartlett, do you want to weigh in?
Well, I mean, the road, I believe, was built by, you know, at the same time and by the same people as the public roads in there, and I think it should be held to the same standards. So, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say.
So, Ms. Platt, why don't we continue this for a month? We'll have Green out there, have them take a look at it, and have them look at the private way and the drainage and whatever the other issues the residents have sent us. And obviously, we'll make sure you get a copy of the letters, and we'll address it. I don't think anyone's going to vote in favor of releasing it tonight, not with all this. So can we continue this for a month?
No, I would appreciate it. I think that makes sense. And if Maureen, if you could send me copies of any of the correspondence, or if they're posted, I hadn't seen it. So obviously we'd like to know what the concerns are and where the issues are, so they can at least be looked at and addressed.
And you have some more issues, more comments?
Sorry. So I think my final only comment is to say that it's a little alarming to think that residents are communicating with the planning board anonymously because of fear of retribution. And so that's pretty significant. Erosion of any relationship that is there. So hopefully that is something that can be addressed as well.
Jennifer, the fact that they wrote the letter anonymously it is a little disturbing to us. I think
to us as well. I mean, if there's someone has a concern, obviously you want to know that they have it so it can be addressed. And as I said, I haven't had the benefit of receiving any of these letters or communications. So unfortunately, it's
not fair to you. We'll get you as much. Does the board have any other concerns that we want to discuss now with Ms. Platt before a month goes by? Is there any other issues that we should be talking about?
I think that as to Lisa was mentioning about the responsibility of, say, the trail area, because if there are certain areas that that the developer is responsible for, it's great to be able to understand that, versus if there's particular parts that are somebody else's responsibility. given the fact that that trail is brand new, and I think everybody is so excited about the opportunity to be able to use it. We want to make sure that it is in good shape from the get-go.
Okay,
And I think that is important. It is important to understand that the public areas, the open space on that development has been accepted by the town as well. That's been deeded to the town. So that is under town control.
So once you take a look at what the details are, that would be great to be able to understand.
yeah, if we have any other concerns, we'll send them over to you, whatever else we've heard. We'll have Maren send you a letter about synopsis of what the concerns are, so that I don't want to blindside you another
Right.
month from now. I want to give you everything, whatever everybody's concerns are, right up front as quickly as we can.
Perfect. No, I'll look for that.
Mr. Montanari, there's a resident with their hands raised. I'm guessing they're Dean Lane.
Okay. Mr. Mercer, is that you? Are you a resident of Dean Lane? Hello?
Takes a moment.
All right, Kirby, I'll give you time.
Can you hear me, Mark?
Yes, I can.
Thank you for taking the opportunity. I am a resident of the Dean Lane Condo Association area. I'm glad you got the letter. I'm going to represent our neighborhood. I can tell you that the flooding in front of the homes 2, 6, and 8 do pose a safety hazard risk, especially in the winter with the freezing and the expansion. We did just have a fresh top coat put down. I am concerned, after a few more years of that top coat from, hydraulic properties of freezing of water and ice, of the pavement breaking up again. The home, there is also, I'm not an electrician, but I do see a high power electrical box in the ground. And I'm concerned about, the water flooding over on that lawn and what's going to happen in front of that house.
Okay. Does your board have any other concerns that they want to make Ms. Platt make available to her, so that we're not wasting another month and you come up with, if you have a list of concerns, could you get it to us so that we could get it to the developer?
Yes, will do. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Are we're good? So we want to, Maren, put this on for the April 7th meeting. And Jennifer, we'll try to get you as much as we can.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time this evening.
Any other concerns by the board? We'll move on. Okay, great.
Right.
So we have a 6:30 public hearing, Aquifer and Water Resource District Special Permit Site Plan, 24 Porter Road, Dirigible. Is that how you spell Dirigible? Dirigible Brewing? I got the brewing part. Do you have the public hearing notice, Maren?
Oh. Hello, everybody.
Who's it? Oh,
My
we
name
have
is Chris. I'm the CEO of Dirigible Brewing Company. You had it right
Oh,
the
yes.
first time.
you have to stop first. Maren has to do the legal
Oh,
stuff.
I'm sorry.
Yes. We have to do the appetizer before we have the main course.
There we go. Planning Board, the Town of Littleton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom to consider an application to modify prior special permits pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 48, and the Code of the Town of Littleton zoning. The application is for Aquifer and Water Resource District Special Permit under Sections 173-61 through 173-64, and Site Plan Review under Section 173-16 through 173-19 of the Littleton zoning bylaws. The Zoom link will be posted to the town website calendar. Property location 24 Porter Road, map R12, parcel 6A, applicant Dirigible Brewing Company, property owner Sajaway Corporation of Littleton, Mass. The applicant is seeking special permit approvals to allow modification to the existing property at 24 Porter Road with interior improvements for a brewery and indoor and outdoor seating, the installation of a 5,000-gallon underground holding tank and associated site and utility improvements. And then it goes on to where you can find the Zoom video conferencing details and that the applications are online. And please give any comments at your earliest convenience. Signed, Bartlett Harvey Clerk. And then I was able to get the Zoom information on the bottom of that page that was sent out to the residents as well. Let's see, and I see that Bruce Ringwald also, we should let him in as well.
Okay, is Bruce going to be doing a presentation?
I think Chris will start,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, now, Chris, now you're up.
All righty. Well, yeah, so Bruce is going to be talking for us. I just was kind of clicking around because I got the prompt. But my name is Chris Loring. I am the CEO of Dirigible Brewing Company. My business partner and co-owner is Colin Knirk. He's going to be the head brewmaster. And yeah, we're looking to set up a brewery in the fine town of Littleton.
Great, thank you. Bruce, do you want to give us the Reader's Digest version of site plan, special permit, aquifer, water resource, all in 3 minutes?
I'd love to. Good evening, folks. It's good to see you all. If I may share my screen. All right. This is a locus plan that we added to the package just recently as several folks were trying to figure out where the site was actually located. So Route 2 is in the lower corner here, Taylor Street, Porter Road, which connects between Wickham and Taylor. And this building right here is 24 Porter. And the white end, which I'm going to zoom in on here a little bit, is the back portion of this building, roughly 4,800 square feet of the building. And then this white is the existing landscaped island that it is outside of that area. And I'm going to switch over to the site plan. And I can't remember, did that change screens for you folks?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sometimes on Zooms it works and sometimes it doesn't. So this is another locus of the site. Off the site is a flood boundaries, wetlands, riverfront. Those come onto the site just a little bit, the 100-foot wetland buffer and the 100-year floodplain off the edge of the pavement. And there is a 200-foot riverfront line that goes across the back. We are not proposing any work in those zones. This is the end of the building and the piece, which now we'll go down into here to get a better look as to what's going on. The use of the property or the zone of the property is an industrial A zoning district. The proposed use, as Maureen read in the announcement, is a brewery. It fits into the use categories under manufacturing for the beer, restaurant for the sales, for the production and sale of the food and beer. And then under accessory use is for the retail and wholesale sale of the beer from the premises. I will show you in a moment the architectural plans that kind of show the layout of the inside. But outside of the building, the changes are that we'll be adding in some entry doors from the front here, because right now the main entry is down here. This will have its own entry into the building, go directly into the site. An entry door into a small courtyard area, which they wish to make over the existing landscaping. They wish to maintain most of the existing trees in this area, although it says trees to be removed, but I think they're planning on keeping those trees. The only tree to be removed is the one on the front door here. And then this would just be a deck over the existing ground. So we're not creating an impervious area. It'll be a deck over that, so the water will drain through to the pervious area underneath. We are adding a handicap parking space, a ramp area down within an existing parking space, and then the van accessible striping next to that. So we're losing 2 parking spaces out of the total 133 that exist right now, and adding in and then bringing that down to 131, meeting the required 5 handicap spaces that are through the ADA requirements. Right now, they're shy 1, but we're bringing that up to code with that. As you can see in our impervious area charts, we're not changing any of the impervious areas. We'll be digging up the asphalt. There's an overhead door here that they'll use to bring equipment in and out of the brewery itself. And then we'll be putting a 5,000 gallon storage tank within that area below there. And then going to the architectural plan, this gives you an idea. This is the doorway we spoke about in the front, 2 windows on the side, and the doorway to the side that are being added. For the general public coming in, there's an airlock, and then this area will have some tables and a bar. This will be a walk-in cooler and a couple bathrooms. This line divides the public space from the brewery space, and in the back there'll be a bathroom for the employees, an office, working areas for the brewing and storage, and then outside to all of these sinks back here, and all of this stuff drain to the holding tank, which will be shown out here. The hours of operation on this, we listed 5 p.m. on Mondays through Fridays. We'd like to change that to 4 p.m. Mondays through Fridays, and then staying open no later than 11 p.m. That obviously that closing time is going to adjust based upon how long patrons are staying in and the amount of patrons they have. Weekends, they look to be open during the day. I think it's 11 o'clock to no later than 11 on Saturday, and 11 to 6 p.m. on Sunday. And as I stated briefly, we've attached in here and submitted for a modification of the site plan and a modification to the special permit for the Aquifer Protection District. Again, no new impervious areas. We have included all the MSDS sheets for materials for cleaning and that would be used on the property in the package. And I have reviewed this with Mr. Griffey, your Board of Health agent, relative to the flows, and we're well within the flows that the existing septic system has. His big concern was to make certain that he got a plumbing plan that showed that all the facility in the back goes to the holding tank, and it's just domestic flow that would go to the septic system. That plan was sent over to him today. And that in a nutshell is it, and I turn it over to you folks for questions.
Okay, I'll start. Anna, do you have any questions or concerns?
I have questions.
Okay,
Do you want me to start?
sure.
So this one is actually probably for clarification, Mark. So Bruce mentioned hours of operation. So given that we've only done this a few times with new operations, do we set those hours? Does Select Board set those hours along with the alcohol permit? How does this work?
That's probably going to be the purview of the Select Board, to be
Okay.
honest with you, because they're going to need the license from them and everything else. It's nice that they gave it to us as a rough idea what they're looking for. They're not looking to be open, 20 hours a day and stuff like that, but we'll pass that all on to the Select Board.
Okay, and then also from a process perspective, does it matter, how we go through this process? Do they have to get that alcohol permit first, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. We can approve it, and then it's subject to them getting a permit for the alcohol. So they're at the risk, not us.
Right. We also have a food service application that is, I believe, been filed with the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health and the Littleton Board of Health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I would just say that it's not unusual.
Ukrainians have not given up.
Whoops. I would say it's not unusual for the planning board to include maximum hours of operations in a special permit if that's an issue for the board.
I think it's more or less, that Myron's right about that, but I think the Select Board's really going to have they'll bring the police chief in and make sure, we'll let them handle that. But yeah, it'd be nice to have it in our records, but ultimately they'll make the decision.
Okay. Thank you, Maren. Appreciate that additional input. So I guess I just have questions from what some of the other folks had brought up from the water department. Get addressed based off what their concerns are. And I think my big question is related to the tank. Is that a piece that actually gets reviewed by anybody else other than us?
Yeah, Bruce, what is in the tank?
Okay.
That was going to be my question, but Anna beat me to it, but go ahead.
All right. So if I may share again, and I'll run back to that
Well, yeah, because
what's that? Oops. On our plan here, we have this is a holding tank, which is reviewable under DEP, under Mass General Law 314 CMR 18. They're in charge of all holding tanks. This will be a double containment tank. Either we show on this detail a lining on the outside, and then an observation port to check that lining to ensure that there's no leaking. It could also be a lining on the inside with the same type of thing. There's options for that. It is a filing with DEP, and once the system is installed, we file with DEP an affidavit that the system the tank has been installed appropriately. Again, there's no hazardous materials going into it. It's a byproduct from the brewing process, and then the cleaning out of tanks and kegs prior to filling them.
So it's part of the fermentation process. It's the scag or whatever is left over from when you brew.
The liquid portion of that. There is we use, or not we, but Chris and Con will use grain. The grain gets mashed, and then that's part of the process. The grain gets strained out, and the spent grain still has a lot of nutritional value. They have arranged with the Pickards to have the Pickards pick up the spent grain for feeding their livestock. Hops as well are something that get used in here, and those are strained off, and liquid will go into the holding tank, and then those hops will be collected and used for composting also in the local areas.
So it's not a hazardous material. It's a byproduct of the fermentation process. So
100%
it's not,
correct.
you can eat it. It wouldn't kill you.
That's correct. It just can't go into the septic tank because it's too much for a septic tank to handle.
Okay.
Septic system to handle.
Okay. Anna, do you have more questions?
Well, I mean, part of the reason why I asked is simply because the MSDS report certainly had enough language in there about hazardous ingredients. I wanted to understand what's going to be going in there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That was a flag for me. Do you have more? Can I ask the rest of the board? Are you good?
Go ahead.
Okay. Delisi, do you have any questions or concerns? I see a shaking of the head no. What about Jeff? Do you any concerns, Jeff?
Jeff, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted, Jeff.
Okay. I just wanted to know what the planned occupancy of the tap room is going to be.
We're requesting 70 seats with the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health, and then that flows based upon 20 gallons a day per seat. There's still ample flow in the septic system above and beyond the owner's space and proposed area that they could additionally rent out. Right now, they're using the balance of the building for their own use, but if they so chose, then there's ample additional flow for that. So
how does that occupancy relate to parking?
there's 133 spaces, 131 spaces when we correct the parking handicap allotments. And even if they all drove in their own vehicle, there are 25 employees on the balance of the property. So that's a total of 95. We have 40 seats left, 40 parking spaces left over. And this opens up on the weekends when the other business isn't working, and at 4 to 5 in the evening when the other business is shutting down. So there should be no problem with parking whatsoever.
I've been to the site and there's a lot of parking.
Yeah.
And
Is this an old, is this
more or
an old
less
digital?
unused. Yeah.
Bruce, is this an old digital? Another one of the old digital buildings?
I think the one behind this one may have been as well, but it's been in private ownership for a long time. Well,
Violet-
digital's been gone for a long time, so.
Yeah. Violet, do you have any questions or concerns?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a few things. I think I share the view that we're pleasantly surprised that we're getting some more retail development, especially of a restaurant beverage kind in the depot, quote unquote depot area. I think we'd all like to see more development out there to help offset what's going on in the commons. So I'm happy with that. Again, like Anna, my biggest concern was what was going in the tank. And obviously that's a byproduct of the fermentation process. I think there's a brew pub in Acton that's been operational for a number of years, and I've never heard a problem about that. So I hope this comes through. I think it'd be a welcome addition to the town of Littleton. Maren, did we have any outstanding issues or anything? Actually, I see a hand raised first. Why don't we take the residents before we go through the actual checklist and stuff? Ursula, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Okay. Could you state your name and your address for Maren?
Ursula Vesti, 23 Porter Road.
Okay. What can we do for you? What are your concerns?
I have a question about the safety in the neighborhood. Folks that you don't live here don't know that there's quite a lot of walking traffic. There are kids riding bikes, tricycles, families walking with strollers. Chris, what are the safety measures you'll take to ensure that the neighborhood, the streets are safe?
Chris, do you or Bruce want to address that?
Well, I can start, and then Chris or Connolly can fill in, but as a brewery and a place serving liquor, there are very strict guidelines on serving, and whether you're serving to somebody, you cut them off before they're too inebriated. From all those standpoints, I think those are the key things. Chris, want to take over?
So we are requiring all of our staff to be tip certified. That's basic throughout the board. We'll be making sure that everybody. So what tip certification is, just meaning we can make sure we can serve people properly, making sure they're not overserved. We also plan on having food trucks available, making sure that people are fed. We have lots of non-alcoholic offerings as well. Basically we have a lot of things in place to prevent people from getting too inebriated.
Chris, is your operation going to be more geared up for the retail establishment or for the wholesale selling your crafted beers to other bars or other retailers, other liquor stores and establishments like that?
So it's mostly going to be on site. We don't really plan on doing any distribution, with the exception of self-distribution. So basically anybody who's going to be coming on site and taking beer to go.
Okay, so you will be offering beer to go as well.
Yep.
Okay, and obviously this is all going to be controlled by the Alcoholic Beverage Commission and the Littleton Police and things like that. You'll have to pass muster with them. Ursula, do you have any other questions or concerns?
Not at this time. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Board have any other concerns? Martin, did you do a
Checklist?
checklist? Are we there? Do we want to close this? Are we comfortable with what we have? Do we want to continue it? What's the board's, Anna, go ahead.
Well, I just had one other small item. So trying to make sure that all of the application materials and I just wanted to point out, Bruce, if you could please have this fixed, that the contact information for Sajawi Corporation isn't listed, neither a phone number or email address. So something pretty minor, but.
And I didn't, you froze or the screen froze and I didn't hear anything that you asked for.
Could you please make sure that on the application that the Sajawi Corporation's contact information is listed? Just trying to make sure that all of our applications are actually completed.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anyone else want to be heard? So does the board want to close? I mean, I think it's, as I stated earlier, it's great that we're reusing an existing building and we're getting some much needed retail and restaurant entities in that area of town. So I'm pleasantly surprised that this is moving forward. So if the board doesn't have any other questions, I would like to close the hearing. I'd like to vote conditions of approval unless somebody has any other questions or concerns.
I so move. Oh, am I
Second?
still, I'm still, am I? Okay.
Oh, you did it. We got
Okay.
it.
Get it?
I
Yeah.
thought I was muted.
I need somebody to second that.
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor of closing the hearing signify by saying aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Anna? Oh, she's frozen, but she's an aye. Bartlett?
Aye.
All right, so Mara, did you do a conditions of approval?
I don't have a draft decision, but we do have the prior aquifer and water resource special permit for this site. It includes the standard groundwater monitoring condition. I would include keep all the conditions of the existing special permit and would suggest we add 5 or 6 to that. One was update the plans to not remove trees from the existing landscape, as Bruce described. 2, if the board wishes, update the hours of operation, maximum of 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 11 Saturday, 11 to 6 Sunday. But again, these are all up for discussion. Address number 4 or 3, address the Board of Health comments from Jim Gareffi in his memo of the certain date. The next one would be tip certification, but whether or not the planning board wants to address that. And then the other last issue was food trucks or food service available.
Well, I
Those were
think
the
there was
issues.
one more that the water department had, no, wait, it was the fire department asked us to consider a CO2 monitoring device.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and Chris and Colin and I have talked about that, and that's not a problem. They'll be adding that in.
Okay, so then why don't we tentatively approve it with all those and we'll vote it next week, next month, I mean? What did you have?
One question, Maren, just to be clear, there is a tree that does need to come down where the front door is. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Whose responsibility will it be to monitor the ground? I mean, there's monitoring wells on site that need to be monitored by the water department. Who's responsible for that?
The water department is.
Water
They'll put
department.
them in the water department. We'll take
Okay.
care of it.
All right.
Yeah, and they bill the property owner for that work.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's been that way. Yeah, good. So can we, conditionally voted, contingent upon Martin's inserts into our standard act for water resource, and we'll sign it in a month. Everybody good with that?
Yes, I'm thirsty.
Okay. Okay. Anna, you're all right with that?
We'll be looking at this again when? In April?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Are you good, Bruce?
We are.
Okay. All right, great.
Can you, I don't know when your meeting in April is, but is it possible for you folks to pass word through Mern to the building commissioner so that they can get their permitting to start moving forward with internal modifications? That only
Yeah.
comes under the site plan portion, which is the easy piece.
Yeah, I can do that
Thank
from
you.
my end.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let Martin draw it up. We'll sign it and get it all signed for April 7th.
Sounds awesome.
Good. Thank you. Thank you all.
Well, thank you guys very much.
Good luck, you guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank
See
you.
there.
All righty.
Thanks
Very
a-
good. I've tested it.
Not that any of us will ever go there, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys are so far away.
we might be doing Zoom meetings from there. But thank you. Welcome to Littleton.
Thank you very much. Have a great night, folks.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank
Thanks.
you. All right. Am I almost done here? Let me go back to the last of my agenda. Shared residential driveway for 9 Air Road, 7, 9, 11, and 13 Air Road.
Yeah, just a moment. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, I'm presuming that Kyle Mann is on his way in. I wasn't sure if Sherry was.
I see Sherry's there.
Okay, hold just a moment. There's Kyle. Okay, I think Kyle and Sherry are both in the room, in the panelist list now.
Okay. Is everybody here? We ready?
Oops.
Okay. Have we gotten our responses back from Green on the actual road, the driveway, the shared residential part of this whole thing? I think that's
Yeah, actually,
the easiest place to start.
yeah, and actually I just promoted Jim Thorne from Green International as well. And we got the comments from Green International yesterday. I would characterize them mostly as plan updates to make. And I'm sure Jim can weigh in, but there didn't seem to be any major engineering problems with the work that Green reviewed.
Okay. Jim, you're good with that? Assess that, not dramatization, that, never mind.
Yes.
You're good with Myron's interpretation? of your-
Yes, I'm good with
Okay.
what you said. Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. So just to make sure, the recap, we're putting one water main in, right, feed all the units. Did you take a look at the slope to ascertain the viability of the slope? That was another big concern of ours.
So we requested that they have a geotechnical engineer provide a report for the slope. And I think that was just recently submitted, and that was after our comments, so we didn't get a chance to look at it. Although geotechnical engineering isn't one of the disciplines that we have in-house. So if you want us to peer review the geotech report, we might have to sub that out to someone else. Same thing.
Okay. The only other last thing, unless the board has any other concerns, is where we're at with the gravel permit. I don't think Mr. Mann can tell us, maybe Ms. Gould can tell us where we're at with the resolution of the gravel permit with the town. As we told you earlier, we're not inclined to do anything till the the residents around this are all satisfied, and the gravel permit has been, everything that was needed to be done to close out the gravel permit was taken care of before we would move forward. And I just want to know where we're at with that.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
to my knowledge, there is no formal structure on a gravel permit, but the selectmen have talked to the current owners about the slopes and making sure that the geotechnical evaluation that Mr. Thorne just referred to is reviewed by the select body, and that they're going to hold the current owner liable for closing that out. So I'd like to suggest this board pass that off to the current owner, if you will, and make the decision on this plan as presented, provided that the select body takes care of what they worry about with the geotechnical report on the slopes.
I don't think it was just that. I think there was an understanding that the houses that are all the abutters around there had concerns about dust and damage to their properties, and I want to make sure that's resolved before we move forward with the A&R for the rest of it. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I don't think the slopes is real. It's more the abutters around it. They've all expressed concern and disappointment that things haven't been done for them.
So I don't see any evidence on the registry records that there is a recording or a filing of that problem anywhere except the abutters' complaints to the selectmen about the project with the current owner, not with Mr. Mann. And I don't know that a special permit to approve the driveway or the shared driveway for 4 homes needs to tie itself in with satisfying the residents. I think that's the prior owner's problem.
I can't agree with you more. The only issue is that when we all started down this road, that's what we talked about, that hopefully that the prior owner, who is less than forthcoming with taking care of the obligations that he made to the select board to get the gravel permit, were taken care of. And this is going back to September. So the selectmen has asked the planning board to make sure that this is resolved. They want to make sure that it's resolved before we move anywhere forward. So I have to honor what the selectmen are asking us. The select board is asking us. So, and I'd hoped, given the month that you had, that the previous owner, the Fields, would have taken care of this issue. I obviously do not want to hold the current owner up. I understand it's entirely new, and he's trying to do the best to put a nice project out there, and we appreciate that. But the gravel permit it's a shame that it's still outstanding, that it hasn't been resolved. And
are you aware of whether a gravel permit ever was pulled or issued? I don't think there was.
There was a gravel permit issued. I've been told that there was a gravel permit issued, and that it was supposed to be, everything was supposed to be resolved, and the permit was closed out by September. That's what I've been hearing from the administrative assistant with the select board. So I just want.
Perhaps this board could approve a special permit on this common driveway subject to the conformity of the plans to what Green has asked for and the closeout of the gravel permit, which will then put it back in the current owner's hands and the select body's hands to make sure that gets closed out.
But I don't see how it's going to. If we approve it and all of a sudden nothing's been done since September, and he knew this was for sale, how is this going to give them any impetus to finally take care of it? That's, maybe I'll ask the rest of the board, but when we started down this road, it was understood, and Mr. Mann, I know you were going to talk to the original owner to make sure that this was taken care of. And
yeah, and I can speak to that too, if you'd like. So Matthew and Michael have worked trying to deal with this in the past month. Obviously, the select board meeting was an important piece, so they couldn't come to a final agreement or plans in the past month. But the plantings on the top of the slope, they're going to take care of, whether it's through me, myself, or we do it together, or I take care of that. The pressure washing, they tried to take care of that. They were going to drop checks off for that to get done to all the neighbors, but it was recommended to them to not do that until after the select board meeting. So they did try to move through this, and it got pushed off until this meeting. So unfortunately, we weren't able to come to they were not able to come to a resolution on that.
Okay, does the rest of the board have any questions or concerns? I don't want to bully everyone, take up everybody's time. Anna, go ahead.
So I have a handful of comments based on the new information that's been provided. So with respect to the slope stability report, in listening to Green International, their request is for a geotechnical engineer. Is the one, Mr. John Field is the one who created the report. He is a civil engineer and not a geotechnical engineer. And so my question is whether Green International believes that Mr. Field is qualified to have created that report.
I honestly, I don't know John Field's background. I mean, geotechnical engineering is a discipline of civil engineering. So I can't say whether he's qualified or not. I just don't know his experience. Yeah.
Okay. From what I can tell, he's not licensed by the state as a geotechnical engineer. So I would request that that's something that we take a look at.
She's frozen
With
again.
respect to, I believe, go ahead.
No, nothing. You're freezing in and out, so we're not getting it.
And I don't know why it does that. So sorry, just let me know if it does it again. One of the things about the peer review is that Maren indicated that a lot of the comments are related to the plans, but there's a couple of them that stand out. One of them, one of them is number 25, the MassDOT permit that's needed first before any approvals can be done. So I just wanted to ask a little bit more information.
The MassDOT curb, what was that, note number 25, you said?
Yes.
Number 25. Note number 25 is about roadway, gutter line, berm, drainage swales. So if it's a curb cut permit, that permit's already been worked on, renewed, paid for. They haven't provided us with the permit yet, but I spoke with him actually beginning of next week. The curb cut permit, the street crossing for the water is not an issue with the state. The entire plan actually is not. They have reviewed, and I've been in discussion with them several times as far as moving forward, and especially with the water crossing, knowing they're going to be paving the street in the spring. I've been kind of really following up with them to make sure that that's going to be ready to go. So the state permitting process as far as curb cut and street crossing is not an issue, and the permit's paid for. We're just waiting to receive it.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. That question was actually for Green International because I
okay.
have a little bit more information, but I appreciate your response.
Like Mr. Mann said, it's something that, you do have to apply for, and it sounds like they are going through the process. It does take some time to get it approved, but anytime you do have a curb opening, like a driveway or any kind of new roadway, then you do have to apply for it, and you do have to get the permit and approved by Mass DOT. I'd have to talk to my colleague Tom Bigelow. He knows more about the Mass DOT permit because I'm more of the stormwater specialist. But I think you can apply for this concurrently.
Well, that's what I wanted to know since you're our reviewers. And then wanted to also ask about item number 3, because that's something that you left as a recommendation in the purview of the planning board, and that includes a traffic report. So I wanted to get a sense from you as to what your thinking was on that.
Under the special permit application submission requirements, under there's a checklist, and basically under the checklist, it says what needs to be submitted, and that's the exterior lighting plan, architectural plans, landscaping plan, signage, traffic assessment, etc. So, you know, we didn't analyze this for traffic impact assessment at all, but we were deferring to the board whether they felt that any of these would be necessary. It is only 4 houses, so it probably wouldn't produce a whole lot of traffic, but it does go out to a state highway.
And one other thing, just to clarify, we're asking him to go from 4 driveways down to 1, so we're trying to mitigate that. So that's, I would say that's probably sort of a moot point as far as this. It is only 4 houses, so.
Yeah, that's part of why I wanted to just clarify. And then with regard to a request that I made from the last time, so on the special permit application on page 5 at the very bottom, it asks for the type of applicant. In this case, Mr. Mann is the applicant. So if Mr. Mann could please identify the type of applicant that he is on that page and resubmit it to Maren, that would be great.
Yes. Okay. I can do that.
Anyone else? Delisa, do you have any questions or concerns?
Not that haven't already been stated. I'm still concerned about the stability of those sides, and I would like to see a report from somebody who is licensed to do this.
Now, is there examples of geotechnical reports from the Point and Gray Farms that I could look at and see who they used and, you know, how they move forward with those substantial slopes, or is this just particular to this site?
Well, I think that's an entirely different, the Point didn't take 50 feet of gravel out and not put a wall. Everything at the Point has walls and everything. They were designed that way. So we can't help you with that one.
Well, I was just an example of a geotechnical report.
Well, can we give him, Mark, do we have, or Maren, can we give him some names of people who are licensed to write these to conduct this kind of study and write a report that is?
I have a report from the engineer. Just you.
Yeah, but I'm looking, I think we're interested in seeing a report from somebody who is, has a geotechnical expertise and preferably is not a family member.
If I could just through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Ask you or suggest that I think that is what the selectmen are focusing on through the current owner. And I would ask that it not be duplicated if it gets done through the current owner or in combination with the current owner and Mr. Mann, but directly to the selectmen, that we be able to piggyback on that same report and not have 2 going on.
Okay, how about this? Since we're really not getting anywhere, we're scheduled to meet in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a second meeting before April. Gives you time to circle back with the select board to get exactly what they want, get the geotechnical, and we can revisit this in 3 weeks. Would that make it easier on everybody?
Perfect.
Does that work with the board?
I just have, am I muted? I can't tell.
No, you're good.
Anyway, so I just want to understand what these issues are, because we're waving our hands. There's this, and so is it from this discussion, it comes down to cleaning the houses adjacent because of the gravel operation. It involves planting at the top of the slope for screening, and then we have the issues with the green report and all that stuff. But that's I think well in hand. And then there's the issue of the determination of the slopes I sympathize with Mr. Mann about this requirement because and I would like to point out that at the Point, they took back the slope at the rear in a much more aggressive fashion than on this site. I mean, it wasn't a gravel operation, but I walked along the stone wall at the top of that slope. I couldn't even stand. It's so steep. So, did we require a geotech report? The building inspector might know. I don't know. But I think that in this case, I'm just not, I'm not as concerned as everyone else about this.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. So, so Sherry, if you can get your laundry list from the select board about what's outstanding, and it could be a letter from your office or an understanding from the fields that it will be taken care of once and for all, so we don't have to keep going around in circles with it, that would be great. And then we can get somebody to take a look at the slopes and give us some sort of report. I think we're pretty much there. I don't think there's a lot of other outstanding issues, unless the board has anything else they want to add. Can we do that? Can we put them on for the 31st? We're going to have a meeting on the 31st if you want to be ready, or do you want to wait till the 7th of April?
31st, please.
Okay. Aaron, what time do you want to put them on for?
Yeah.
Oh, you will get
We
back.
can talk about that, and then before we continue, there is a hand raised for other comments.
Oh, okay.
But Thursday, March 31st, what time? What do you think? Maybe 7 if we're starting the meeting at 6?
Sure.
Okay. And then you said that meeting will be in person, room 103.
We have somebody raising their hand. Kim Ahern, do you have a question or a concern or a comment?
Yes, I'd like to speak. Kim Ahern, I live at 40 Foster Street. I'm also a member of the Littleton Shade Tree Committee and a landscape architect. And I reviewed the drawings, and the summary from the applicant in the area on the application's location of development areas. They talk about adding several trees that are proposed for a neighborhood feel, screening of the property, a mix of coniferous and deciduous trees along the shared driveway. There's no plant list. We would like to see the names of the trees, the size of the trees going in. Pretty typical, not anything unusual to ask for. It should be part of this submittal. Also, where they make a kind of, they talk about having it as a neighborhood feel. It'd be nice if they would, continue the tree line along the full driveway there. They just have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees right around that circle. It'd be nice if they would add trees all the way down, maybe put a tree in the middle of that circle as well. There's no indication of what kind of plant materials going near the detention basin. And that should go on the plant list also. And then didn't know about this, but if the neighbors are concerned and want some screening, there's only, as far as I can tell with this drawing, it's only seeded. There are no trees to screen and hold down any of this dust that people are talking about. So, I don't know, is there another plan that I'm not seeing that has trees along, screening for the neighbors?
So I guess we're looking at two different things. We're talking about screening up above for the neighbors, and that's what they have to work out with the selectmen. So there's no real plan for that. As far as the roadway down below and the shared driveway, it's an A&R plan. It's not a subdivision. We can't insist on a planting plan for it because it is really just an A&R plan. I would assume that the Board of Health and Conservation will step in on the plantings for the detention ponds and things like that. But as far as the roadway goes, we can't ask, as from a subdivision standard, we can't ask for it. But if they would like to give it to us, that'd be great.
I think it would, because they could just put in, 2-foot high trees and, that's not going to do anything. So I would say if you could, gently request,
Very good. Nice.
I don't think that's asking too much. They've got it on the plan, so they should tell you what it is, I think.
We will gently suggest. How's that?
And the shade tree committee would love some trees along Air Road if they wouldn't mind.
We'll see what we can get. Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll continue this till 7 o'clock on
March 31st. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, we have 740 Newtown Road, Fort Pond, lot line revisions for an A&R that we did a while ago.
That's me.
I figured you were double dipping.
Twofer. The plan has been submitted, and I think Maren can pull it up to share it.
Yes, could you walk us through what your changes are?
I'd love to. If I could see it.
It's there.
Let's see if I can see it. Okay, I'm going to look at mine because I can't really see this one. The half circle figure there on the left-hand side is essentially the bulk of the land in Littleton. That's what I call the Isabella Plein Art Association. It is a waterfront parcel of land that is going to be preserved in a nonprofit organization for an artist colony. It has an existing cottage on it, and it is a gem in the town of Littleton. When we finish the development of these other Acton lots, that will be an area that will have some accessibility by the public for, like I said, an art colony association, a retreat to go waterfront, observe birds, and maybe do artwork. In the meantime, the developer who owns the lots that front on Newtown Road, which are mostly situated in Acton, has been developing houses on those lots. So the last piece left is what I call Lot 4. And if you look at the, I can't do a pointer, but if you look at the parcel that is the lowest on this plan that has a house on it, that's a Littleton house, and it belongs to a family named Bergeron. Right above that is parcel 4, or a portion of parcel 4. And 4 has been subdivided into 4A and 4B in the town of Acton. That would be to the right of the Littleton town line. You see it? So you have parcel 4, much of which is in Littleton, but the developer has taken 4 and in Acton turned it into 2 buildable lots with frontage in Acton. So the only thing before you today is that the developer is trying to get 2 fingers of land to belong to that 4A and 4B, so that those 2 Acton lots can have deeded access to the water for their enjoyment of water sports and water views. And if you look at, I think I'm going to do it a little bit backwards. If you look at parcel C, Maren, I don't know if you can point to that one. 30-foot finger that is going to be taken from the Isabella Choate Art Colony land and deeded to the new lot 4B. And so it's not a buildable lot. I'm asking for A&R approval for parcel C to be parceled out of the Isabella Choate land and deeded to lot 4B in Acton. And then this engineer has put onto the plan that it will result in a certain area for lot 4B, and he's noted how much of the area will be in Littleton for tax purposes and how much of the area will be in Acton. So parcel C is going to 4B. The other one, which is parcel F, is going to be deeded to lot 4A. again, to give Lot 4A in Acton access to the waterfront. And again, that's a small strip of land about 35 foot wide in the Littleton side. It tapers down to 10 feet just because of the way the lots are configured. And that will be deeded to 4A in Acton. So it's not a separate buildable lot, and it's just going to be deeded off to
Okay.
Lot 4A.
So you-
Everything else that you already have in front of you isn't going to change really on the Littleton side, and nothing's going to change the viability of the Isabella Choate Plein Air Art Colony as a lot that conforms in Littleton.
So you're basically really just creating two easements on the Choate property to access, so the people who buy 4A and 4B can walk to the water.
Essentially, but they're not going to be easements. They're going to be.
I know they're actual lot. I see that.
Yes. That's really what it boils down to.
Yep. And the people on the Isabella Choate, will they be allowed to walk around? No one's going to be, there's not going to be fences put up or anything. It's just going to be open space, right?
Open space, yeah.
Yeah, so everybody can have access to it, really.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a problem. Does anybody on the board have, let me go back to talking to people.
I have what is parcel D for?
Parcel.
That's next to the dwelling. It's like a 10-foot strip.
So the Bergeron family asked that there not be a dock closer to their lot line than 10 feet.
Okay.
But simply to move it over 10 feet from their lot line.
So they're getting that 10 feet?
No, it's going to stay, but it's going to be a buffer
Okay.
between Bergeron and parcel E. Yeah.
ERF, yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Anna, do you have any questions or concerns about this? Go ahead.
Well, hi, Ms. Gould. I wanted to ask a little bit because of all of the different addresses associated with this. So back in 2020, when we did the A&R approval, it was for 213 and 227. So I was just wondering what happened to 213? Where is it in this whole grand scheme of things?
I believe that 213 may be the Bergerons. I'm not certain of that, Anna, and it was a question I didn't anticipate. But
well, actually, the Bergerons is 227, so that's why I was wondering. So what happened to 213?
Okay, so 213 would be the other side of this, because 4A and 4B are 223 and 225 respectively. So if Bergeron's 27, then 4B is 225 and 4A is 223. And then there would be two more lots. Where's my north arrow? It would be two more lots east of this right of way for Choate, but they're Acton lots and they're gone. They're not Littleton lots.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the correct addresses that we're looking at based on what you said are 21, 23, and 27?
I think so. 20.
Yeah, but we're not even, Anna, we're not even looking at those because they're actually in Acton.
Those are Acton, yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, I just wanted to know what these numbers are because both between the plans and the application, there's a lot of numbers and they don't sync up. So that's why I was asking about that.
Okay.
My understanding or my guess is that the Isabella Choate Plein Air Art Association, which is the only one Littleton has as a lot that is got a building on it.
That one that
does have a number because it was, I think, the Isabel Choate's home at one point, but I don't know the number. I don't think it's on here.
Okay. So a couple of minor things that I wanted to point out. On the plan, it has a new date of 3/1, not 2/17.
Right.
And so doesn't the application then need date?
I am going to record the plan as a plan dated 3/1. If you want me to revise the application, I can run into Marin's office in the morning and put as amended.
Yeah, if you're going to be picking up anything, that would be great. And then, as I said in a prior application. I'm just trying to make sure that all of our documents are appropriately filled out.
No problem. We'll make that change.
And then just in terms of signatures, so the applicant is the record owner. So Dominic Sebas is the record owner. So I'm just trying to think. Just wanted to make sure that the record owner. There we go. So signature of applicant. So
if I can, Myron already caught me on this one, Anna, so I can jump in. The owner currently of the Isabella Choate property, the Plnbrd Association, the owner currently is Salvation Trust LLC, Dominic Sebin, manager. So that's the correct owner of the parcel we're seeking to get the A&R on. Okay. And then Myron corrected me and said, since the Lot 4 piece is in Littleton and it's affected too, the owner of Lot 4 should join in this. And today the owner of Lot 4 is Globo LLC and the Globo manager. And the Globo manager authorized me as his agent to sign for him.
Right. Yeah. I know that I knew that you could say about that other one. All right. And then the final thing, so I guess you probably will need to make this correction as well. On the Form A application where it says location of property, it says off Newtown Road.
Yes.
We should probably actually put an address in there just to make sure that it's all clear as to.
So I agree. I will intend to check with the assessors in the morning if that Isabella Choate property has an address. If it doesn't, because the building department didn't assign it one, I'll make it say Lot B1 or whatever it is. But I'll ask the assessors what they have.
Or I guess it's parcel 13 on the GIS. So whatever.
Glad to.
Anyone else? You still, you done, Anna, or are you still going?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, any issues?
I'm all set.
Delisa?
Nope, I'm good.
Bartlett?
I'm good.
And I'm good as well. So
Thank
you
you.
make those corrections, we can sign
We
this.
do have a question, a hand raised.
Oh, okay. Mr. Bergeron?
Hi, my name is John Bergeron. I'm at 227 Newtown Road. So if you wouldn't mind putting the plan back up, I'm the lot that will be adjacent to this.
Yeah, you're the existing dwelling.
I am. Could I trouble you to put the, oh, thank you so much, Maureen. So I just had a couple of questions. So I know that the artist retreat was, set up as a result of a lawsuit that was between the Choates and Jim. And I guess my question was, one of the requirements there was that 600 feet of frontage was required on that parcel. And so I just wanted to make sure that folks on the phone were aware of that. The intent was to make the artist retreat as large as possible. The second comment I wanted to make was, parcel D. So Sherry, thank you for explaining that parcel D was meant to create a kind of a buffer between, my lot and, anybody else. I guess my question is, I thought there was a minimum requirement for any kind of structure, whether it be a dock or a mooring or a ramp. Because what I don't want to see happen is that the existing easement become a runway to launch boats, for example. So Sherry, do you have any insight or can you comment on that?
I don't think that's the purview of an A&R plan before this board, Mr. Bergeron, but I will reassure you that I have limited the accessibility by the lot owners for the protection of everyone in this compound, and I'm happy to talk to you about it tomorrow if you'd like to call me.
Sure, I'll be glad to call you. So I guess one of the questions, and I have a question into DEP, I've asked them, formally about what are the requirements to be able to put any kind of dock or any kind of structure on what's considered a great pond, which Fort Pond is. The other question I had was, So the title of the meeting was identified as 221, 223, and 225, A&R changes. I can't get the numbering correct in my own head, as I think other folks have pointed out. The lot that's immediately in front of the DeShepers, which I think is equated to Globo, are any changes being proposed to that lot or to any of the borders or boundaries or what have you in front of that lot?
Again, that's on the Acton side. The answer is no, but that's not the purview of this board, Mr. Chair. But the answer is no changes.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I guess what confused me is what was put in front of this board was the addresses of all three. And so that's the reason why I asked the question. I just wanted to make sure. So there's been a lot of activity on the site. My other question is, has this already been, pursued or sold as, lakefront property?
Again, Mr. Chairman, I'm very happy to talk to Mr. Bergeron one-on-one tomorrow. I just don't think that's board business right now, Mr. Bergeron, respectfully.
I sort of agree, Mr. Bergeron. We're just looking at the actual houses are going to be in Acton. We're looking at making sure that they're going to get access to the pond, which, unless someone tells us otherwise, they're well within their right of doing. So we're just looking at an A&R, and an A&R is an approval not required. So it has adequate frontage on the roadway.
So the one thing, Mr. Montanari, and thanks, Mark, I haven't seen you in a while, is that you just look into the settlement of the Isabella V Choate, because I think there was a requirement in there with the best of intent to leave the frontage at 600 feet, and this will draw below that. The previous A&R, I think if you did a comparison, would demonstrate that it was at 600 feet, and so this will be something less than what was previously agreed to. And I'll just leave that to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So we'll get those issues addressed, and do you want to put this on for the 31st as well, Ms. Gould?
No, I'm going to ask you to approve the A&R tonight, and I will make the changes in the morning. I'm just revising the date on the plan and amending an address for Anna's request.
Is the board okay with that? I don't want to speak for the board. Does anyone have any issues? They're all.
Well, I think, I'm sort of curious, is there an answer to Mr. Bergeron's question about the length of the shoreline? If there's a document that says that's supposed to be 600 feet and this action would make that less, is that something we can do?
Again, that would be, through you, Mr. Chair, that would be a civil matter. I do believe that we are not in violation of the settlement agreement with the parties. And that's not a matter for the board. If we're in violation, we might have to come back to the drawing board, but I don't believe we are.
Yeah, I have to kind of agree with that. It's not part of an A&R process.
I would agree with that. For an A&R, the board can look at area and frontage. We often stretch it to lot shape formula, but where they're not building lots in Littleton,
we can't even look at that.
You can't. If you choose to not approve it, it would get automatically approved in 21 days anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, we don't really have much we can look at as far as this goes. So does the board want to approve it with subject to the changes Sherry and Maren take care of, and we can approve it this evening and sign the MyLars when we get a chance to come in? Everybody all right with that? Anne, are you okay with that, or are you frozen?
No, I'm here.
All right. Can you tell us how you do that frozen thing? Because that might come in handy. I got you. All right. All right. So I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing. Whatever it is. But it's not a hearing. Yeah, you're right. It's not a hearing. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended A&R plans as presented.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Jeff?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Delisa?
Yes.
Bartlett?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So there's a real resounding yes, Pilot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Have a good night.
Thank you. So I think this brings us to the end. We have run out of things to talk about at planning board meeting, unless you guys have something else. Anything? Nothing? We're good. We're good. And thank you guys for having the extra meeting.
Did we confirm if that next meeting is in person or not?
It's going to be in person. We're going to do live. What, does anyone have a problem with doing live on the 31st? I think it would make more sense to do live.
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, we'll have to double check on resources.
Oh, all right. Well, Myron will have to check on that for us. If we have to change the date, is everyone flexible to find a home for us on the Wednesday or Thursday? We're good. Why don't we just talk about it real quick? I think it makes sense to do it live and have people come in if they want to come in for it. I mean, this is pretty important. I love Zoom. I wish we could do Zoom forever, but I unfortunately don't think we're going to be able to keep going with that. So why don't we work on this one, do it live, and we'll go from there.
At your leisure, sir.
Okay. All right. So everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Anna, are you frozen?
Yep, good. No, I'm not frozen.
Lisa, are you all right with, we don't need to wear masks. We can, actually talk to one another. Bartlett, are you okay?
I'm good with that.
I am good as well.
I will still wear a mask, but yes, I
Okay,
will.
that's fine. So Maren, we'll send something over to the select board that would like to meet with them, have a public hearing and talk to Sal, and they're welcome to join us, and then we'll schedule a joint meeting, or they can come to our 7th meeting. We'll send them a letter over there tomorrow at some point to Anthony.
Okay, and to clarify, it's a discussion, not a formal hearing?
Yeah, it's an
it's a-
informal discussion.
Regular planning board meeting with a discussion.
Yeah, informal discussion. Yep. Great. Everybody else, and we're good? All right, are we still live, or we're done?
We're live.
We're still.
You are
What?
still alive, waiting for your roll call vote, sir.
Oh, I'll
We have to
entertain a
close.
motion to adjourn. Thank you.
I so move.
All right, second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Great. Thank you all.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.